is Austin Faith Dialogue, a public affairs program discussing the important crossroad of religion in life, produced by Austin Metropolitan Ministries in cooperation with KTBC TV. Austin Faith Dialogue highlights the interaction of the religious community with the social and cultural issues throughout our area. Now, today's edition of Austin Faith Dialogue.
Hello, welcome to Austin Faith Dialogue. I'm Father Michael Mulvey, your host for today's program. With me today is Rod Raina, Director of the Catholic Youth Ministry Office for the Diocese of Austin. Also with us is Sonia Gonzalez and Trey Kopecki. This past August, a unique and memorable event took place in Denver. The three of us had the privilege of participating in this event. It was the 8th World Youth Day. Previous World Youth Days were held in Rome, Buenos Aires, Santiago de Compostela in Spain, and Częstochowa, Poland. During these World Youth Days, Pope John Paul II has called together the Catholic youth of the world on a pilgrimage to pray and reflect together on themes of our faith. Describing these events, Pope John Paul has said, World Youth Day provides opportunities to break our journey for a while, enabling young people to examine their deepest aspirations, to heighten their sense of belonging to the Church, to proclaim their common faith, to make bold and enlightened choices which can help set the future course of history under the powerful but gentle guidance of the Holy Spirit. 5 days of dialogue between youth and the Pope, the youth and their bishops, the youth and worldwide organizations of the Church, and the youth with each other. 5 full days that we would like to relive today with Rod, Sonia, and Trey. Rod, I know that there was a lot of preparation that had to go into this event in Denver, organizing the youth of the diocese. Could you tell us a little bit about what that organization process was about and how it's happened?
Well, sure, Father Mulvey. Basically, we kicked off a whole year ago our trip to World Youth Day, our pilgrimage, our journey 1,000 miles to Denver, by having a World Youth Day kickoff celebration in Rockdale, Texas. And we had 700 in attendance. And we showed those 700 where we could go, how we could go to Denver soil with hundreds of thousands of other youth from over 71 countries. And they immediately jumped on the bandwagon. They were excited, and more than 50% of the parishes in our diocese decided it was very important to try to make an effort to go. I mean, many could not go perhaps because of money or school, other priorities, but some were able to set aside the money, the time, and do many projects, come to many meetings to get organized. And it shows by how many ended up going. We had 650 go in our main contingent. There were 14 bus loads, and there was another bus load that came with us that was a second contingent of young adults. And we just traveled those 1,000 miles up. We had a very good time once we got there, and even as our main contingent went, we had 13 others go, 13 other small contingents from our diocese. So 850 to 1,000 people journeyed together. Half of those people were youth, 25% were young adults, and 25% were adult chaperones. And we had the experience of our lives, 5 extraordinary days, and it was well worth preparing for it. And I think that's why we're here today, to talk about how it affected us.
Great. Sounds wonderful. So we have 2 of you here that were part of World Youth Day, huh?
Yes.
Trey and Sonia. What made you decide to go to World Youth Day? Were you in the Rockdale meeting?
No, I didn't get to go to that retreat, but our church announced the event, and immediately everybody was excited and everyone wanted to go. So we had lots of fundraisers to raise money for the bus and the hotel and food and things like that.
Good. And Trey, what made you decide to want to go?
Well, just being able to see, hear the message of the Pope to the youth of the Catholic Church, I thought that would be a great experience for me. And I just decided to take the opportunity to go.
Did you have a lot of expectations prior to going, or did you just not know what to expect? Or?
I didn't know what to expect, really.
And Sonia, how about you? Did you have any expectations?
Well, Basically, all they told us was we were going on a bus and we'd get there and have plenty of things to do. We didn't know if there would be masses or parties, or we had no idea. So we just decided that it would be good to go.
Great. To give you an idea of, I mean, there was an overwhelming list of things that, opportunities. They had a mass celebration of the liturgy every day. They had prayer services. They had concerts, thematic events, cultural activities. I mean, our groups, like I said, we had at least 50 parishes out of the 121 in our diocese go. And so they had, there were times they spent together as one large group in places like Mile High Stadium or the Denver Convention Center or the Civic Center Celebration Plaza. I mean, if you count what the things they did that week, they went to liturgy 5 to 7 times. They walked 15 to 50 miles. You know, they enjoyed themselves and met people from so many countries. Some of them, yes, had an idea what was going to go on, but it still was so hard to imagine all the things. Once you got there and saw, you were just amazed at, you know, how 200,000, you know, Catholics could express themselves, their faith and all that.
I believe we have a clip right now, or a video of part of World Youth Day. I think it's part of the welcome for Pope John Paul II in Mile High Stadium. Maybe we could run that now and look at that.
The celebration began with song and spontaneous dancing that broke out all over the stadium. Then a greeting to all with something uniquely American. Mile High Stadium thundered with cheers as the Pope entered and circumnavigated the crowd of 90,000 in a custom that is uniquely his. He spoke in universal themes, togetherness and friendship, urging all young people to unite in their faith.
We are here to listen to one another. I to you, and you to the Pope. But above all, we are in Denver to hear the one true word of life.
Although expected, there was no papal lecture on the Church's demands for moral behavior. An intense downpour distracted thousands who were out in the open. But these Vietnamese youth from Orange County, 400 strong, took it all in stride.
Meeting the Pope is, I think, the most special event in my life so far. I think it's just great. I mean, it's exciting. I can't even say.
You're too excited?
Yeah, that's right.
Well, it's raining now.
Yeah, but that hasn't dampened the spirits.
On Friday, many in this group will be granted a private audience, a special favor from the Pope because of their parents' suffering during the Vietnam War. What are you going to tell the Pope?
I will ask him to pray more for our country.
Most went home wet and tired, but the World Youth Day spirit was still high.
I'm definitely on a spiritual high, and I'm going back on a spiritual high, and I'm going to share the love of the Pope back with friends and relatives in L.A.
So, we were all in Mile High Stadium that evening when the Pope arrived. Can you tell me something about that? What your feelings were? Have you ever seen the Pope before, or been near him before that evening in Mile High Stadium?
When he went to San Antonio a few years back, I got just a glimpse of him in his Pope mobile, you know, riding along the street. And I was just overwhelmed by the amount of people that were there and the enthusiasm of the whole event. And it was totally different from the way I thought it would go. Just so much enthusiasm.
How about you, Sonia? Was that the first time you've seen the Pope, and what did you think on that evening at Mile High Stadium?
I had seen him before in pictures and on television. I had never seen him in person before, and when he entered the stadium, there was just a whole bunch of excitement. Everybody was screaming and yelling and clapping and so excited to see him. And it just gave me an overwhelming feeling also, because this one person can generate so much love from all these people that it makes you wonder what exactly is he saying that does this, and it's his message to the youth.
Yeah, there's many today that say that the Pope doesn't have much relevance with young people and the youth of the world, and some even say he doesn't even listen to them. Did you have that feeling, or did you feel that the Pope was there for you, or what are your thoughts on that?
I don't see how someone could think that he would not listen, or else he would not go through all this trouble every 2 years to have a World Youth Day for primarily the youth, and to listen to what they have to say and talk on things that are relevant to youth these days. So
I thought that he got his message across really well to the youth. I thought he communicated very well with us, and I don't see how anyone could think that.
How about you, Rod?
Well, I think if they thought that before, once they were there present, like Trey and Sonia were, I think they'd see a lot of different things that may make them change their mind. The Pope laughed with them, he cried with them, he was even tired at times, he had a busy schedule, and the youth really listened because he was sincere, and that's why so many, this shepherd of ours, really feel so much for him, because he does engage people. He does listen and speak to, what are our hungers and our desires. And he does challenge us and say, be bold, be courageous, and consider, not what mainstream society has to offer, but, change your clothes, put on the clothes of Jesus, and you consider doing something that'll make a difference in not only your own life, but the lives of many others. I think if people listen to him that way, or see that others really are paying attention, then they say, wow, this man really is human and real and has something to say.
Right. I know sometimes we have an image of the church which is kind of old and old cathedrals and kind of it stresses the tradition and the old side of the church, and yet my impression at World Youth Day, and also especially out at the park on Saturday night and Sunday, was it was a very youthful church. And as you said, the Pope laughed. I was really touched by that when he made a mistake at one point in his English, and he just laughed at himself, and everyone laughed with him. It was a very youthful kind of experience. Didn't you think so?
yeah, I think that the church is going from the traditional to more current, more modern, involving with the youth a lot these days. I know that at my church, a lot of the older people are concerned with the youth, and they help them a lot with fundraisers if they need anything, and they're just real supportive of the youth.
Right, yeah.
I think, now she said that there is a mixing, maybe not old and tradition is not good, it's actually very beautiful, and cathedrals are very beautiful, but sometimes as youth, we don't always become aware or realize how rich those traditions are. And sometimes we have to think of new and creative ways to pass on that message, that tradition, and what is so important. And yes, it does seem more modern and contemporary, but it's really just another way of putting on a new face of the same basic message that has been presented to us for 2,000 years. And for youth to get excited about that, they go, wow, it really is something. Now we see what our parents and our other young people have been telling us about, our peer ministers, and that's why maybe y'all have come home different. I mean, Trey, how are you? How is it for you now that you've gone to this?
Well, I think my my prayer life has a much greater meaning to me now. He really made it clear to me that the youth do play a big part in the church, and it's important for them to come together and to go the way of the Lord, and express their beliefs and not keep it all inside. And I thought that has really changed the way that I think about the church.
Great. Yeah. Another aspect, I think, of World Youth Day was certainly the international face of the church. There were people from all over the world, and I know with the youth of my parish, when we went, I said I wanted each one of them to meet somebody from another country. Did you get that opportunity to meet somebody that was from another country besides the United States? And what did that feel like, being...
Our group, we met many people mostly from European countries, but there were quite a few from Central America, such as El Salvador and Honduras and Nicaragua and stuff like that. But we took little wooden bead crosses to trade with them, and we traded for souvenir pins from all over the world. And it was just a neat experience to see that our faith extends to such a wide range.
Okay, maybe we can continue with that topic. We're going to have to take a break right now, but when we come back, we can continue with that topic.
Serving Austin means serving you. Each day, Austin Metropolitan Ministries is religion in action, providing affordable housing, caring for the elderly, marching against hunger, and much more. AMM promotes understanding, cooperation, and social involvement. So when we ask for your help, we're really asking to help you, Austin. To find out how you can help Austin Metropolitan Ministries help Austin through its member organizations, just call 472-7627.
Okay, we're back now, and I'd like to give Sonia a chance to respond to that. Did you meet people from other countries? Did you get that opportunity?
I remember very vividly I met some people from Canada, and I think that they were about my age, maybe a year or two younger, and Rod's sister and we took a picture with them, and they told us that they would send us a copy of the picture with a letter and such. I haven't checked the mail lately, so I don't know if it's been sent, but I remember that very vividly. It was really comforting to know that there are people that share your faith so strongly.
And even people from very difficult situations in the world, too. I mean, we saw people from Bosnia who gave a witness of how they're trying to live their faith in that very difficult situation, and people who were handicapped who shared how they live their faith, and just a broad range of all sorts of people, and really gave the universal view of the church that we're a part of.
Trey even was with people from Haiti, and I mean, there's animosity right now in the world, for some reason, conflict in that area, but we had a neutral ground where we could together share our faith and just with, you know, just comfortably talk with each other. And Trey met with people from Haiti. Some of our group that I was with met people from Italy, and we all, 200,000 of us, slept in Cherry Creek State Park together, you know, inches from each other, and there was mist in the morning, and we woke up together, and they had prayer, you know, in different groups, and it was just really wonderful. Yeah. I think the next thing that we can all wonder, since we're here today, is what are we going to do, though, after this? Mm-hmm. And I want to mention how on this T-shirt here, it says, "Walk with me." And walk with me is what we ask the youth to consider doing with Jesus, to go on pilgrimage and to walk with him on a journey to Denver soil, and yes, to meet with the Pope, you know, who is our special guest, but then to meet with one another, young adults and youth, and because it's important that we talk with one another, dialogue, have this international forum, and share. And you know, once we got there, we were much more than just walking with Jesus alone. We had then become, and this next shirt has, that we were pilgrims. We were pilgrims from Texas. And it so happened that we had over 10,000 from Texas go. So just that alone shows how the youth of Texas and the adults and young adults had such, you know, desire to meet with one another. And had one more shirt just before we go on what we're going to be doing. This in Spanish says, El Día Mundial de la Juventud. And this has the World Youth Day International logo. And I think everybody together felt there in the mountaintops of Denver that they were joined together, and on holy ground, even though it wasn't, you know, a church per se, but with the 200,000 gathered, it was holy ground because we all had such energy and it was a vibrant celebration of our faith. I think that was what was very neat about it, and now that's going to affect what we do next.
I know that the world of youth is a very complex situation right now, and working with youth, what effect do you think that this World Youth Day will have on our Catholic youth of this diocese, but also in on the youth in general? Do you think there'll be a lasting impact on them? And
well, I see the impact on Sonia and Trey as they come here. They take a risky step to be here in front of many people watching from the TV audience, but they represent youth from the many parishes and schools, and that really had a desire, and this moment together was like an evangelization moment. It was a starting point for some to be able to become alive in their faith, light that fire that, you know, Jesus is inside. For others, they had already maybe grown in their faith some, and they came to strengthen their faith or to show others what it was all about. So what we're trying to do, because youth do have a desire. Many youth nowadays don't have all of the support, you know, they've had in the past. Families are, you know, much more different in the 90s. Many people have to work, and many youth are on their own, not for any fault of anyone, but just sometimes we forget that youth, as they're growing up till they, you know, go through high school and beyond, they always need support, something that'll not make them vulnerable or at risk to getting involved in, you know, at-risk behavior or conflicts. So maybe this experience has helped them realize that they have the support of one another, they love one another, they can be together and help one another. And some of the things we're going to do, or that have already happened, there's been different reunions between parishes and different busloads and caravans that have invited those that came and those that did not go to be able to relive the experience. This happened October 10th in Rockdale recently, where we kicked it off, remember? And then it's also going to happen in Waco on November 7th at Riker High School Gym and Stadium. We're going to get together and relive it, do some of the same things we did for those that could not go, and hopefully grow stronger and bring a friend that couldn't go before. Those are some of the things we're going to do, and we're going to, you know, keep the momentum going. I mean, Trey and Sonia, what are you all going to do?
Have you had friends, say at school, or just friends of yours that have asked about this a lot and have been inquisitive? Or
yeah.
Have you?
Lots of people from everywhere, from church and from school, and friends from around the neighborhood ask, you know, well, how was it? What was it like? How many people were there? And it's kind of fun to be able to tell them, you know, well, when we went to see the Pope, I saw him, you know, not too far away, and we had Mass every day, and there were a lot of activities for the youth to meet each other, and it was just really fun.
Have you had a lot of inquiries, Trey?
I've had a lot of questions about what went on and how I took the message and what it meant to me. And, you know, I tell them that the youth, his message, I try to spread it, you know, tell them that the youth have a big part in the church, and it's just really, they find it interesting that so many, you know, friends of mine who are not Catholic find it so interesting that people of one faith would come together for such a huge event.
I always think, you know, it's wonderful to talk about it in big ways. Has it made a difference at home? Because it always has to start there. That's where we know if it's really had an effect. Have you been different, say, just at home?
Yes, I think my family has been more spiritually open, and we take a greater meaning in our faith. My father was raised in the Catholic Church, and he has a deep faith in God, and I think that and the fact that I've been to World Youth Day and I heard the Pope's message has helped me grow in my faith also.
Great. How about you, Trey?
I find that I pray quite a bit more than I did before I went, and I think that is the main effect that it's had on my life.
Okay, great. Well, at the end of World Youth Day at Cherry Creek Park, the Pope announced that the next World Youth Day would be in Manila in January of 1995. Any thoughts of going or any preparations being made? Have you had people inquire about going?
Many youth are already saying, I want to go. How do we get there? How do we, get our friends to go too? It will be in January or February of 1995 in Manila in the Philippines, and people are trying to save their pennies already and focus on, trying to get to that event, but also doing things in between. Because yes, the big events are special, but it's also those little events in between for each other, to be leaders in your church, to do things for youth, to make your church a youth-friendly community, make them your priority, because the youth really are wanting to be involved to participate in the life and mission of the church. And they also want to get together, though, to share in their joys and celebrations and their, during special events. So I think many are planning to go to the Philippines, if nothing else, to do the wave with the cardinals and the bishops and the nuns.
One more time.
That did that there in Mahai Stadium. They were so in awe when they did that, and when, as they're walking around before Mass, all the bishops and priests gave the high five to all the youth along the side of the stadium. I think they saw everybody as being human, and they want to experience that again.
That's great. You feel like you've had more, you take more responsibility for the world of youth, for your peers, or you at least sense a sense of responsibility to help them grow in their faith now too?
I think that it's important to try to help the youth to grow in their faith, and I just...
Good.
I feel that I do have a sort of responsibility to the other youth that I know. I try and help people if they have, some sort of problem, and give them the influence that they need to do what is right, and that it's not just going to affect them, but other people around them.
Sure. That's great. Well, it's been wonderful kind of reliving this whole event of World Youth Day. As we were talking, I could just remember some of the scenes, walking in the Dust Bowl, as we called it a couple of times, with at the park on Saturday night and Sunday. And
well, you yourself went, Father. I mean, how do you as a priest, now as we're closing this session, how did you feel?
Well, I felt wonderful. I felt that there was a real sense of, as you were saying, the youthfulness, of the church, deeply rooted in the tradition, in the past of our church, but like you said, a new face, and that was exciting to me, and so I really hope that will continue. Thank you all very much for being with us today, and thank you, the viewers, for being on this show of Austin Faith Dialogue, and we hope you'll join us again for our next program. Thank you all.
Call Austin Metropolitan Ministries at 472-7627.